So, what is the rules in anti-doping that is saying on every sport? That's the beauty of the anti-doping code that is respectable by every government on the world because they signed the UNESCO convention. So it's more than law in every country. You don't choose do you want to respect or not. You have to respect if you are signed UNESCO convention and all the countries on the world sign it. And at that point, you have to respect this. So it's not like you choose, will that happen or not? There is a World Anti-Doping Code, and we are all doing on every sport, on every world, on every level, the same thing. What about your sport? So there is a, how we say in a doping testing authority, there is two that is of course familiar to you, the one that we are presenting today, the second is SMAS. And good thing to know that there is a difference because the SMAS is so many disciplines. I was surprised there is underwater rugby. I'm still surprised. But just to know there are so many disciplines and you have like an AIDA, of course, actually we can say one sport, not so many sports. But in a doping world, so many things change, and one of the things that change is that we have this international testing agency who is mostly doing the job for all the big international federations, and they are doing that job for SMAS. So all the things that you will see that is regarding for the anti-doping in the code signatory, how we say institution, is done by this international testing agency. That's important because of something else that we will discuss later. But just to know, they are the signatory of the World Anti-Doping Code. AIDA is on their way to be the same. So it's a process. It just took a time, but don't worry, it will happen anyway. Before that happens, AIDA did everything they should do to become a signatory of the World Anti-Doping Code. So that means really on their web page you can find the dedicated anti-doping section, but not even that, you can find everything that every other sport, whatever, football, basketball, whatever, they have on their rules. So it is the same. Why is the same? Because we are all doing by the World Anti-Doping Code. There is no gray zone. We are all doing the same. That's very important because so many times I heard that people believe that we can decide something. We cannot decide anything because on the world of anti-doping, everything is already, the decisions are already taken. So if you need any kind of info, you can find on the website. Just for your education, because I think it's very important, and I will do it fast. Who is a doping positive? People always know and hear about the doping positive cases when somebody took something which is prohibited. But just to know, it's not so simple again. By the World Anti-Doping Code, there is 11 ways to be doping positive. 11, so not only one. The one that you will always hear, and it was in your sport, of course, it's a presence of substance. But there is a use or attempt to use. There is a refusing to be tested. That's also very important. We had in Serbia one athlete who was refusing and he was sanctioned. It was when you are not giving data about where are you moving so they can test you out of competition. Tempering to use, it's also possession, also trafficking, it's forbidden. Administering or attempt to use, that was maybe if you're a coach or instructor, if tomorrow somebody of you, I don't know, by not purpose or non-purpose, give somebody something that is doping, he can be charged by this one. Cover up anti-doping rule violation when somebody is covering, so they are not speaking about that. Prohibited association when you're in association with somebody who is already punished. And that's something which is very new because in anti-doping they realize that they cannot test everybody. And of course there are more test positive, people are using anything that is prohibited, but they cannot, of course, test all of them. So they invented something that is for you familiar as whistleblowing. So today everybody is like speak up about the doping, and if you don't support somebody to speak about the rule violation, you will be also punished. So this is when you say that somebody is doping positive. In anti-doping, we have something that is very frustrating for most of the athletes, but it's really frustrating, and that's that they call it the principle of strict liability. That means that whenever athlete is doping positive, in all the cases, I can say like 90 or 95 cases, athlete is in 100% responsible, and in most cases, there is no sharing responsibility. So you will never see the athlete who is pointing the finger on the people like coaches, doctors, whatever. It will be always solely doping positive athlete. Because the World Anti-Doping Agency, they don't care who give you, they will like to know, but nobody's speaking about that, how you get into your body, did you know it or you didn't know it. They call it a strict liability. So whatever you took, whenever you're doping positive, even for the drug, it is just solely your responsibility, which makes athletes very frustrated because there is a space that they can make mistakes. In the anti-doping world and by a World Anti-Doping Code, this is the we call it prohibited list. So it's again not anything that we can negotiate. This is written, everything which is prohibited is there. We cannot invent anything new, or we can just have this like voting in this room and say, oh, from tomorrow this will be prohibited. No, it's done annually. By 1st of January each year becomes valid, and these are all the things that are prohibited. For you, not so interesting, the anabolic agents, the hormones, beta agonists, and so on, maybe diuretics. Infusions, manipulation with the blood, not so interesting. Yeah, but maybe for you interesting something that is going to be tested when somebody is going only to competition, not out of the competition, is this group that is stimulants and maybe cannabinoids. We have a big problem in the other sports on the world that athletes are more and more use the drugs. I will call it drugs like cocaine, cannabinoids, and so on, and they are doping positive of that. Even if there is not like clear sport performance effect, it's against the sport ethics, and that's why they are prohibited. The one that is very interesting for your sport, and it's existing only in your and other sports as a separate group, is beta blockers. And this is what is written in the prohibited list of the World Anti-Doping Agency. So there is so many sports where you have as you know, the high heart rate, and then you want to reduce it. And of course, it's your sport. Every underwater sports is the one that the beta blockers are prohibited. So it's the law on every country, in every sport that is here, and this is not something that we can change. Why is some substances on the prohibited list and how some new will be there? So there is every substance needs to have two of these three things. So either it's affects sport performance, either it's having any health damage, or it's against the sport ethics. So example, everybody is asking why marijuana is forbidden. So it's very easy. It's not because it's influenced the sport ethics, but it's doing the other two things. It's harm to your health, and of course it's against the sport ethics. So it has nothing with the sport performance, and people, athletes is always asking why it's still on the list. So that is the reason. For new groups to be there and to come on the list, they need to have this criteria. So it's not going like we are just negotiating about that and we say it will be. It has to be a long medical studies that will approve one of these criteria, and then that will come to the list. What is happening when somebody is doping positive? I will make very fast. So when an athlete is doping positive, you will see the doping control process. We have the 2 bottles that the athlete is putting his urine. When we have from the laboratory that somebody is doping positive, this is very important because I have this, again, speaking with athletes that you can cover up. So it's not possible. Whenever you send to the normal anti-doping laboratory, the result will go not only to AIDA, in this case, it will go to the World Anti-Doping Agency, and it will go to the National Doping Agency, or I can say to the country of the athlete who is testing. So many people will get the same information. You cannot cover up. So it's not like can you do something? We cannot do anything. From the moment you close the bottles, you send to the lab, there is nothing you can do. So athlete who is positive has a right to open or to retest, to do the control of the sample. If he refuses, he will be doping positive. If he wants to do it, there will be a recheck. In normal life, whenever there is a positive A sample, the B sample that is taken at the same time will be the same positive. So there is no many cases that there was a difference. He will have a hearing and he will have a sanction. That's it. So this one can take a long one. You have the Sinner case now, who is very famous. So the Sinner case is now in this sanction, and they have the appeal on the bigger court, and it's going up to see what will happen in the future. So the sanctions that everybody is speaking, like what will be the sanctions, is going to make it simple from 0 to up to 4 years. There is of course, cases that athlete is not punished, but that's a long process that he needs to show up with so many evidence how it happens. It happens very rare. The most frequent is that athlete is punished either 4 years for steroids, hormones, or they're taking for 2 years for some other substances. So there is a process to reduce the punishment, but to be simple, all steroid cases on the world mostly sanctioned 4 years. So that's the biggest sanction, and that's because the idea is to actually to sanction athlete. The one that can be interesting for you, for everybody who is using marijuana in, I don't know, free lifestyle, whatever, and just because there is a lot of cases on the world, the World Anti-Doping Agency didn't know what to do, and from 2021, they call it substance of abuse. So they actually acknowledge that there is a lot of athletes who are using that in normal life, and they want to reduce the punishment as much as it can be. So it can be 3 months, but there is a condition that athletes has to fulfill, that he didn't took it for the sport, out of competition, how did he took it, and so on, and then it can be reduced, because before they get 2 years for that one. Cocaine, marijuana, it was really for the athletes, of course, the disaster, because they didn't took it for any kind of sport performance. So that's for somebody who is interested on that level. So what is the statistics? These are the number of the samples that is done by World Anti-Doping Agency on the world. As you can see, it's a very high number. So like 300,000 samples. It's a huge number. And all these samples are tested on same way on the only 33 laboratories on the world. And this is the percentage of doping positive athletes. So it's going up and down. Somebody will say it's connected with Olympic years and so on, but it's not high. For you to see, because this will be the score that AIDA is looking at percentage, it's like 0.5 of all tested athletes. It is not high. It's anyway on the world level, it is between 1, 2. You can see that there is a sports who are going up to 3%, but it's not so high as people expect. It's just, it isn't. So what are the most abused substances? Of course, the steroids, number one from decades, from the beginning of the World Anti-Doping Agency. Then we have diuretics, stimulants, hormones, cannabinoids. So this top 5 is something that can be also interesting for you. The beta blockers are very low. As you can see, on very few cases of doping positive with beta blockers in the last, in 2022. And the number of the doping controls done, but it's visible to World Anti-Doping Agency, because all the testing of AIDA is on the way to be visible. And but done by SMAS is not, again, not so high. It's 180, which is actually in so many disciplines, and you have AIDA who is doing 100 just for, I can say, one sport. So AIDA is on the excellent way. So it's just, as I can say, the matter of time to become the part of this big family. And the doping positive, because the topic of my presentation was, is there any issue? When you have 5 doping positive cases in so long history, we can say there is no issue. And you know these names, I will not read them, you know the substances and so on, so it happened in the history. And this is something that is discovered, of course, something that athletes were tested, and they were punishment for that. So is there any issue when we look the numbers? Really, no. The last one that we had in 2024, which was again not the big issue, was one of the athletes who was taking the drops for his eyes that has diuretics inside. And just to know, it was so good absorption that it goes into the body, and he pee, and we find it in his urine sample. But we give him a therapeutic use exemption, so we, how to say, acknowledge that it was for the therapeutic use. So that was the last one. So it was not zero idea of any kind of the doping. And regarding the doping process, just a few things. This is very important, because everybody is asking, when I was doing the testing, am I random, am I target? So this is still existing in AIDA. It's not existing anywhere else. You're not going to athlete and say, oh, you're random on your target. So the athlete shouldn't know, it's not his right to know how he is chosen. It's like traffic police. You can be tested anytime, anywhere, as many times, and again and again. You never ask why I'm tested. If you refuse, you will be punished 4 years, and that's the story. So the World Anti-Doping Agency made it like anytime, anyone, anywhere, unlimited times. I can test you today, tomorrow, the day after, and the day after, and you as athlete, you can never ask why, because there is a assumption that you are not using anything and you don't have a problem with that. So if somebody is approaching to you, please don't ask them again, or to your athlete, is it random, is it target? It's just not your business. It can be sometimes in football, like high-level athletes, they are doing sometimes by random. You just pick the number and the system is picking, or the people are doing that. Or maybe you want to target some by place. You want all first places in every discipline. That's the normal. You want every third place. It's really a normal. So nobody is picking any athlete because they are highly suspicious. That was in past. Now it is not done on that level. But just to know, athlete can be tested as many times as he wants. In AIDA, still there is not out of competition testing, but that will come also in a close future. That means that athletes will be tested out of competition, mostly at their homes or the training periods. And that's, of course, that's not something that you announce. It's always unannounced. So you can see that the NBA players, they are tested unannounced. Usain Bolt, even tested now when he wants to play a football. Again, he has a doping control. Cristiano Ronaldo and everything. So it's really normal. So we are not testing Ronaldo because he's using something. So he's just tested because there is a reason or whatever that he should be tested as one of the, or we can say best player on the world. Or this is our athlete, the best jump athlete from Serbia on the world level, 5th time in last month. So that means every week, more than every week, somebody came to her house or to competition and test her. So most of the athletes, they are proud of this. They are not having any problem. The high-level athletes, they are really proud. Everybody's putting on the social media. Everybody. I was tested, doping control in my house. I don't know, 10th in a row this month. So they're having no problem with that because they just want to say a message and to send a message that everything is okay. So who is just for you to know, the testing authority in your case, in your sport, actually can be either AIDA or can be SMAS, so depending on which competition you're going, but that's how we call in the anti-doping world, the one who wants to test you. So this was the example done during our presentation for Vitomir, just to know that he can be tested either by AIDA, either by SMAS, or the World Anti-Doping Agency, or the Croatian National Anti-Doping Agency. So when you are starting to compete on high level, it's really, you can be tested so frequently, and it's not the case that they're all going together sharing the information. Very often you can be today tested by one organization, tomorrow by second, and so on. But still, I'm telling you, in high professional athlete, nobody's making a deal of that. This is the doping control process. We will make a step-by-step or movie about that. We had a really nice shooting with Uroš, and we did it like very, with them, we did it very nice job. So the point of the doping control that I will not go now is that the athlete is doing everything by himself. As you can see, that he is observed during providing the samples, so you know it's belonging to him. He is doing all the job, putting in the bottles, and he is doing and checking all the papers. So this is the very transparent process. In very nice cases, we are not doing anything, the athlete is doing everything. It should be like that. So this is, again, we will have a nice picture for you and to put also on the website so you can see it. And for just a last minute, I want to tell you something. When you start to compete and to respect the official anti-doping rules, there is a prohibited list. On the prohibited list, there are drugs, which means people can really use drugs for their health, but they are prohibited. Somebody will ask why? Because there is a lot of athletes who want to abuse it. You have a lot of athletes who are using any of beta agonists, they don't have asthma. You have athletes who want to use growth hormone, they don't have any problem with the growth. They want to use insulin, they don't have diabetes. Because of that, there is a process that is called therapeutic use exemption, when you are asking approval to use drugs that are prohibited. So not every drug is allowed to use. That's very important. To go through that process, you have the TUE process. So you are with the medical records, you are going to AIDA. AIDA has also the TUE committee. So you are coming to AIDA and you are asking approval in advance to use something that is prohibited. And this should look like this, that you always cooperate with your doctor who knows what is prohibited. Then you fill the papers, you go to, in this case, AIDA, you ask for approval, we approve it, and you are free to compete, because when you are doping positive, when they find that drug in your urine, you will not be a doping positive. And and yeah, it's approved or not approved. And this is the drugs that can be taken by mistake in your sport very frequently, because you always have a problem with the nose congestion and so on, like here with the high wind and everything. So just to know, all of these drugs has prohibited substances that is called pseudoephedrine, or if you want the ephedrine drops, it's strictly forbidden. Anybody who took that will be punished, and it's very cruel. It will be up to 2 years. There is no, I didn't know. It like that's not existing. I didn't know is not existing on the world of professional sport. So if anybody of you have used this one and it's athlete and it's going to any kind of competition, just to know it's forbidden. So please take care about this. Of course, you can use all kinds of antibiotics, which is allowed. So many painkillers that are allowed. Just to know, most of them are actually allowed. And all of this spray for nose, nasal, the one that is also allowed. So there is a few ones that are not allowed, which is very effective because they have the stimulant inside and they are forbidden. So don't make that mistake. And during the previous period, we had a 9 TUE request. And this was mostly coming for the amphetamine drugs that the people are using for the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's the next topic. And the one that we didn't even approve. But there is a lot of substances that you ask and they're actually allowed to use. So we can discuss that in 1 minute. So there is some drugs that they don't need a therapeutic use exemption, but still the athletes were asking about that. And except drugs, there is just one point to make up about the supplements. My narrow, I can say, specialization is nutrition. So maybe next one of the meetings we can speak about nutrition in freediving, because I realize there is a lot of taboo about fasting and everything. And again, there is no evidence base, like zero. In freediving supplements, nothing. In even apnea supplements, very low. So don't be, confused, or somebody is just cheating you that there are supplements who will do the work for your sport performance. Believe me, there is not. So even if the most of athletes are using the supplements, still in the doping, we have a big issue with the possible contamination of the supplements. That's why there is a famous professor, Rogan, who says that if a supplement is not banned, it is probably not effective. But if a supplement is effective, it is probably banned. It's because there is a stimulants and so many things that can be put in the supplements, not declared, and you can be doping positive. The biggest fear of the high professional athlete is they are supplements. So they are always, they're always in fear that they will take something, and the World Anti-Doping Agency is just giving the explanation, we don't care. So taking supplements is your own risk. If you took the supplements, you're doping positive. To prove that it's from the supplement is a very long and stressful process. So whenever you're taking any kind of vitamins, whatever you want, fat burners, energy boosters, whatever, just to know it's on your responsibility and you will risk. And there is only one institution on the world who do the evidence-based classification of the supplements. Only one, and still it's only one valid, it's coming from Australia, and they put performance supplements. So you have only caffeine, beta-alanine, nitrate, sodium bicarbonate, creatine, and glycerol. Everything else is not sport performance. Whatever they say to you, it's not sport performance. They don't have enough evidence, so it's not going into these groups. This is the next lecture that we were going to do once upon a time, when we have a time. And this is for you to know that there is a database on the world level where you can check the drugs, is it safe to use or not. Or, I will just go with this, or you can use the AIDA website, where you can also check the supplement and medication, and we will answer to you, is it prohibited or not. And my last slide, the World Anti-Doping Agency did a big investigation. So I just want to show you the biggest concern of athletes was the nutritional supplements. So that was not the point. The second one is need for fast physical change or negative social environment or health condition. So everything that we spoke today is the biggest concern of all athletes on the world. It's not only yours. Whenever you don't have a knowledge about the physiology, sport medicine, you get very easily attached to the doping, and that's actually not the idea. So that's why you have to learn, and this was just one step to that. Thank you.
Thank you.